All right, so we're at the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and get started. So I saw a lot of people in this webinar from all different places and backgrounds, and I even saw some of you who's been on this webinar before. So awesome, good to see you guys again. So I'm Jason Brown, and we're going to talk about how to profit from the stock market, and more particularly, the focus is going to be on the beginners. So if you've taken this webinar before, some of this may be a reminder for you. But if you've never been on this webinar before, I'm going to break down the 4 steps that you need to know as a beginner to get started trading in the stock market. We're going to go through a real live stock chart, and we'll go through a real live example. And then I'll show you some testimonials for some people who are in our private stock market coaching group, or just a part of the group in our private Facebook area. And we'll read some testimonials from there, and then we'll talk about how you can get involved. Fair enough? So let's dive into it. So this is going to be live and interactive. So if you have a question for me, the chat box is for you kind of chat with each other, so to speak, but there's a Q&A box up top to the left. This is question and answer. If you type it in there, I'll try to answer your questions throughout the presentation. If I don't, I'll leave some room for questions at the end. So my goal tonight is simply to connect the dots on the stock market for you. I want to take a complicated subject and I want to make it simple. So I want to show you how simple it can be, because most people don't get involved in the stock market because they think it's this big, complicated thing. And the people with the knowledge don't normally want to share it with you. They try to sound smart, or they try to really just put it in terms that, everyday average people don't understand, creating that barrier and making it hard for you to get involved with this industry. So I want to break it down tonight. So here's what we're going to learn. You're going to learn what the professionals know tonight. And, I want to make sure you're in the right place. So if you're looking to learn what the professionals know, if you're open to additional training and coaching, and you want to become more confident in understanding how the stock market works, whether that's to handle your own portfolio, get into short-term trading, long-term trading, day trading, or just be better educated when you talk to your financial planner, advisor, this is the place for you to be. So you're in the right place. If you don't fit into those categories, you can basically sign off now. So let's dive into it. So here's what we're going to go through tonight. We're going to break down why it's important to understand the language of the stock market. We're going to talk about how to find fundamentally stable companies to trade or invest in. And then we're going to break down the importance of identifying buy and sell signals, because at the end of the day, in order to make some money, you need to buy it right and you need to sell it right. And if you're buying it wrong and you're selling it wrong, you're going to lose money. And then we're going to talk about how to read a stock chart. That's one of the backbones of trading and getting involved in the market, is understanding what you're seeing in those squiggly lines and those blinking lights. It looks like a foreign language, but once you understand, or someone explains what you're looking at, you can start to see how you can make money from it. Now, when I think about the stock market and I think about where you're at in your life, or where I was at in my life, you may fall into one of these categories. You may be coming to this webinar because you're looking for a way to be your own boss. You're looking for a way to work from home. Maybe you want to buy a car, you want to buy it cash, you want to buy a home, you want to buy it cash. You maybe have kids that you want to put through college and you need money for their tuition or private school. Maybe you're in a position where you're looking to retire soon and you're finding out that you don't have as much money as you think and you need to do something different. Or maybe you just want to increase your financial IQ, your financial intelligence, and you want to just be better informed when someone's talking about the stock market at work. You don't want to put your head down and say, I know nothing about that subject, or, oh, that's over my head. So maybe you're just here not necessarily because you want to make a ton of money, but you just want to be better informed. You don't want to be left out with what's going on financially. And, no matter what category you fall in, at the top of that, it's always money connecting you to all those, right? So, whether you want to be your own boss, you normally need money to do that. That's why you work for someone right now. If you want to work from home, you need money to do that. Or some type of opportunity that allow you to work from home and have the financial freedom and make the type of money you need to still live the lifestyle that you're living, maybe working your job, if not better. Financial IQ, if you're going to school, it costs money to go to school, right? So everything is normally tied to money. And the funny thing about that is most of us are taught that money isn't important. And I disagree. I think it's right up there with oxygen. And when you have money, it's like oxygen. It's a little bit easier to breathe. And when you don't have money, you feel a little choked up. Things are kind of hard. It's hard to breathe. Jokes aren't as funny, because that financially you're struggling, or financially you can't go on that vacation, or financially you can't put your schools in your kids in the school district they want to be in. Financially, you can't move into the neighborhoods that you want to move into. So I don't know who said money isn't important, because for it not to be important, we spend a whole lot of our lives working for it. And it also determines where our kids can go to school, what type of police force supports us, what type of, city services that we have. So again, it's right up there with oxygen. So don't believe the hype. I do believe it's not everything, but I disagree when someone says, oh, money's not important. It's not everything. Your health is everything, things like that. But it's definitely important, and it's right up there. So let me back up. I skipped a few slides here. So just a little bit about myself, who you're listening to tonight. Won't spend long here. I'm Jason Brown. Grew up right here in Detroit, Michigan. You can see top left, graduated from Wayne State with my bachelor's in finance. And I like to do some fun things. You can see bottom left, that's me down there. Skydiving. Yes, I jumped out of a perfectly good airplane without a parachute, but at least the guy strapped to me had a parachute. So that was pretty fun. Top right, you can see me and my best friend. We like to go scuba diving. And we are actually both certified scuba divers up to 145 feet in the water. What does that have to do with the stock market? Absolutely nothing. But just want to let you know I'm a human being and I like having fun too. Not all people that trade in the stock market are we're cool people. We like to do stuff. And then bottom right, you can see that's me actually at the Microsoft store in Somerset Mall here in Michigan. We had a partnership with the Microsoft store where we were teaching financial literacy, and we were going over how to get started trading in the stock market. And you can see that on that bottom left screen. This right here is just a snapshot of some trades I've made. When I was 23 years old, I grew a $10,000 student loan into a six-figure trading account. And, you can see right there, what we were able to do with this trading account in a very, very, very short period of time. And the reason I show you that is because, most people ask, well, is the person I'm listening to, have they ever made money? And the answer is yes, I've made money. I've grew accounts to six figures. I'll also tell you the other side of that. I've lost more money than people making the year before as well. So, that's why I'm really passionate about coaching and training and giving people the right expectations in this industry and showing you what's possible if you follow a plan, and then also showing you that you can lose some money if you try to go at it on your own or, be cheap about this thing. Couple websites I started. We have our course over at powerstocktrades.com. You can find me in iTunes. I have a podcast that's on iTunes and Android. It's on Stitcher. If you want to listen to it on your phone, I talk about different things with relationship to the stock market. And then many of you may have found me through my actual website, thebrownreport.com. You may have also seen me on YouTube. We got some YouTube videos out there. So just letting you know I'm all over the web. I'm easy to find. So why the stock market? Why get involved with the stock market? Let me ask you, why are you here tonight? Just type in the box for me and let me know why are you interested in the stock market? I want to hear from you. I'm going to tell you why I picked the stock market and why I think this industry is important. But Why do you want to learn about the stock market? Just type it in the chat box and tell me what's the fascination with the market for you. Andre says, stepping stone to becoming rich. Okay, definitely. It's the playground for the wealthy. Star says financial security. Sandra says, I like supporting business and taking the risk to make some money. Awesome. Learn how money works. Exactly. Those are all good reasons to learn about the stock market. Jason says financial security as I get older. Hey, if you learn this early, your life only gets easier as you get older. Mahogany says I want to work for myself. So awesome. So let's talk about why the stock market. Those are all good points. So let me tell you why I picked the stock market. The number one reason is lifestyle. The stock market offers a lifestyle that not many other industries can offer. And let me break down what I mean by that. You know, you can make money a whole bunch of different ways. You can go and get a job, but what's the problem with that job? You have to work 40 hours a week. And, you know, you can never really work more than that. Even if you work 60 hours, you're still a human being. So you're only limited to 24 hours in a day. There's no other way to get paid more than 24 hours in a day. But in the stock market, and you have to be at a physical location. Think about going into business for yourself. Maybe you want to open a McDonald's or something like that. There's no way to get paid outside of that street corner that your McDonald's is on. You are limited to the customers on that street corner. But with the stock market, you can trade from anywhere in the world, and that's a fact. As long as you have a high-speed internet connection and a laptop, you can make money. So I'm not confided to my home in Michigan. I'm not confided to any one place. I can just pack up, go. As long as there's a high-speed internet connection and I have my MacBook with me, I can make money. The second reason is your money can work harder for you than you can work for it. I already touched on this. There's only 8 hours in a day, and you can only, or normally work 8 hours, but 24 hours in a day, and you can't work any more than 24 hours. Some people say, well, I'll go get a second job. Again, you're still limited to 24 hours in a day. I always say 2 jobs is for 2 people. So learn how to have money work hard for you versus you always working so hard for it. Because I'm telling you, when my money's working hard for me, these guys never get tired. They don't get sleepy. They don't complain. They don't ask for workers' compensation. My money doesn't even take vacations, if you know what I'm saying, unless I'm on vacation spending it. But my point is, it's unlike any other workhorse or asset out there. It can work 24 hours a day, round the clock, and it doesn't get tired. And it's a universal language. Everybody speaks it. And then it's recession proof. I want you to think about this. If the economy's up, everything's great. But what happens when the economy's down? Have you ever heard of them closing Wall Street because the economy's down? Have you ever said, we're going to lay off a couple of different companies and not trade their stock on the U.S. stock exchange? That doesn't happen. So whether the economy's up or down, there's always an opportunity to make money in the stock market. That's not the same case with your job, right? If the economy's down, you might get laid off. If you are into some type of luxury goods store, if the economy is down, people are going to scale back on luxuries and only buy what they need, like toothpaste and deodorant, and make sure they got, running water. Am I making sense? So, this is one industry that's recession proof from the standpoint that if the economy's down, there's always some trades to make money on the downside. If the economy's up, there's money to make on the upside, but the market doesn't close or get laid off because the economy is down. And then this one's my favorite. There's no racism. There's no sexism, no ageism, no nothingism. I know that's not a real word, but my point is there's nobody that you have to go get permission from to trade in the stock market. And that's what I love about it. I don't have to go ask someone, hey, can I make some money in the stock market? Or you think you can give me a raise today? Or I don't have to go butter up my resume and stick it in front of someone's face and say, hopefully, you like my qualifications and dance and sing to their song. I can just take my money, open an account online and start trading. I don't need anyone's permission. The only permission you need is to make sure you're 18 years old of age or older, obviously because of legal requirements. But outside of that, I don't have to get permission to make money in the stock market. And that's a beautiful thing. Now, for some of you, you may have seen this picture before. And before we get into the actual stock charts and how to find stocks, I like to do this exercise. So if you've seen this picture before, I'm going to ask you, because I see some people in here that have taken this webinar, don't participate in this part right here. But I want you guys to look at the picture and then type in the box. Tell me, what do you see? Tell me, what do you see in the picture? Because I'm going to show you at the end what you're looking at. But I want you to just type in the box and tell me, what do you see in this picture? So take a close look at it and then tell me, what do you see? What are you looking at? Can you tell me what's in this picture or what this picture is of? And just type it in the chat box for me there. I've heard this called a lot of different things, and you're probably staring at it like, well, what am I looking at? Jason says black and white map image. I think I see a person on the left. Okay. Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a map. What else? What do you guys see in this picture? And I'm doing this because I'm gonna prove a point at the end. I'm gonna share with you what you're looking at, but just type in the chat box, what do you think it is? Like, if you had to take your best guess, what do you think you're looking at? I remember one time someone said it looks like Batman's embryo. I've seen it looks like a black and white painting. A lot of different things. So I'm going to share with you towards the end what you're actually looking at. All right, so let's dive into stock market language, right? So here's step number one of what you need to know as a beginner investor. You need to understand the language of the stock market, because if you don't know the language of the stock market, it can be confusing. If you ever watch any of the TV shows or you buy any of the newspapers, different things like that, looking at it, it's like watching an episode of Charlie Brown. It just looks like, womp, 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 blah, blah, blah. It just looks really confusing. And it really can be like learning a foreign language. Just imagine being dropped off in a different country, being dropped off in China or something like that, and having to learn that language without any type of training or anybody there to help you out. You would get discouraged. You'd think, okay, this isn't for me. Only smart people must know how to speak this language. But that's far from the truth. It's just they know something that you don't know. And for the first time, it can be very confusing. So you need to master and understand the stock market language. And until you do, it definitely can be overwhelming. The second thing you need to understand as a beginner getting started in the stock market, you need to find fundamentally sound stocks to invest in. So if you're investing and buying stuff for the long term, you need to find fundamentally stable stocks. And I'll talk to you about a couple ways you can do that. And then if you're trading, which is what we do, you want to be able to find technical stocks to trade. So there's different patterns that develop in the stock chart. And I'll show you one when we get to that portion. You want to be able to identify these patterns so you can pick up on when to buy and then when to sell. Now, how many of us have one of these? Have a cell phone, have Wi-Fi, you have internet connection at home. For me, it's Comcast over here. How many of us shop at Target? How many of you use Facebook? How many of you use Twitter? Probably all of us. And let me ask a different question. How many of you own their stock? How many of you own Comcast or your cable company stock? How many of you own Target stock? How many of you own Facebook stock? How many of you own Twitter stock or Apple stock? Most of the time, the case is no, you don't. And what I want to point out is some of the best trades or some of the best stocks to be in are right up under your nose. So I was going to tell you how to find some of the best stocks to trade for free. Some of the best stocks to trade are right up under our noses by looking at the things that we use every single day. I have an iPhone, I have a Mac computer, I have Apple TV, I have 2 iPads. You name it. I have an iPod Touch. My other phone's an iPhone. So I'm Apple to death over here. Why wouldn't I own the stock? You'd think if you like their products, maybe other people like it as well, and maybe the stock is doing decent. Do you use Facebook? Do you use Twitter? Do you shop at Target? Do you use Google Maps, right? Those are all things that you do business with or you use to make your everyday life easy. Have you thought about taking a look at their stock and owning some of the stuff that you use? See, most of us are consumers, but we're not getting paid off of this stuff. And then on the other side, there's investors who look at the things they use. Look at the car you drive. Ladies, look at the shoes you buy. Look at the makeup you're buying, or the hairdressing tools you're using. Gentlemen, look at the cars you're buying or the tools you're using to work on these cars. All of that is made by a company that's normally a publicly traded company. And if you love their product, chances are the rest of the world does too, and their stock is doing okay. And the reverse is true as well. I think about when I used to have a BlackBerry, and when iPhone came to the market, when I had that BlackBerry, I started thinking like, man, this BlackBerry sucks. There's no apps. It can't do some of the cool stuff the iPhone is doing. Well, what did I do? I left BlackBerry and went to an iPhone. I loved it, never looked back. You'd think if I made that switch, other people were making that switch. So I didn't need a genie or some type of stock guru to come down and tell me, hey, you might want to get out of BlackBerry stock because they're not innovating, they're not being creative, and people are jumping ship in droves and going to Apple phones or going to Android phones. So a lot of these financial wealth shifts happen right in front of our nose, and most of the times we participate in it, but we participate as a consumer, always buying and using the products, but we don't think like investors and say, if I like this and other people like this, let me see how I can get paid off of it. And that's what I want you to be thinking about. So here's the 3 things that you need to check when you're looking to buy a stock. So if you're looking to buy a stock and quote unquote invest in it, maybe hold it for long term, you want to check the company's sales revenue. So that's just going to tell you, is the product flying off the shelf? Do they have any money coming in? Because if revenue is down, that means no one's buying their product. But then you have to ask yourself, if people are buying their product and it's flying off the shelves and they have high sales revenue, the next question you have to go into is, what's the profit margin? So what do I mean by that? Just because I'm selling something doesn't mean I'm profitable. So let's just say a black or iPhone costs, $200 at the store. And you go into a store and they're selling them for $1. So they may sell 1 million iPhones for $1, and you're thinking, wow, they had $1 million in sales revenue. Well, that sounds good until you find out it costs $600 to make an iPhone. So even though they have sales revenue coming in, they're negative $599 on their profit margin because they're taking a loss to sell those phones. Now, maybe they're taking a loss on those phones because they're paying a monthly fee or subscription to a cell phone carrier, and the cell phone carrier is subsidizing that cost. So now over the next 2 years, they're getting $80 back from you. Okay, then that's a different story, but it's not good enough to just say, does the company have sales revenue, and just stop right there. You have to now take the next step and say, what's the profit margin on that product? And then the third thing you want to check, even if they have a profit margin that's positive, what's the earnings for the company, right? So now the earnings is going to take into effect, yes, they have revenues, they're selling iPhones or they're selling product. Yes, they have a decent profit margin on it, but earnings is also going to take into effect, how many employees do they have? How much are they paying for a lease on their building? How much money are they spending on commercials? Because they could be having a profit margin from their product, but be taking a loss because of high overhead, high employee costs, high marketing costs. Does that make sense? So these 3 have to work together. Looking at one of those by themselves doesn't really tell the whole story, or doesn't really tell the whole picture. So if you leave with, nothing else, you can leave right now. And this right here is golden information to get you started with analyzing some of the companies that you do business with and some of the things that you use around your house. Now, let's talk about the importance of identifying buy and sell signals. So we're going to look at a heartbeat monitor right here. And obviously I just told you what it is, but just looking at this, if I asked you, if you were in the hospital and you see this line ticking up and down like this, and I asked you, what does that mean? You'd say, well, it means the person's alive. They're doing great. Then if I turned and asked you and said, hey, what happens if this line flatlines, meaning it just goes flat? You're going to, hey, we need to get a doctor in here because something isn't right. The heart just stopped beating. I think they just died. Let's see if we can resuscitate them and bring them back to life. You're going to say all those things. My question to you, to everyone who can hear my voice, my question to you is this. Did you have to go to med school to know that when this line is blinking up and down, that the person's alive, and when it flatlines, they're in trouble and you need to go get a doctor? Did you have to go to med school to know that? And I already know the answer. The answer is no. And why didn't you have to go to med school to know that? Did you, I'm not a doctor, but even if you saw this flat line, you know that something is wrong and the person's heart stopped beating. How is it that you know that and you didn't have to go to school for it? You knew that because somebody somewhere along your life taught you what this meant, whether that's by watching TV, watching Grey's Anatomy, watching the doctors on TV, whatever these reality shows are. You've seen enough TV shows or whatever the case may be to know when that's moving up and down, person's fine. When it's going flatline, the person's in trouble. Well, the reason I'm sharing that with you is because a stock chart is the exact same way, ladies and gentlemen. This is a stock chart, and most of the time when people look at this, it looks confusing. They have no idea what they're looking at, and that's because no one in your circle has taken the time to show you what this means, or no one around you knows what it means, so it looks like Greek to you. Same way that heartbeat monitor was Greek until someone explained it and said, hey, when that's moving up and down, grandma's fine or grandpa's fine or whoever's in the hospital is fine. But if it flatlines, we're in trouble. So I'm going to walk you through some basics of a stock chart. I'm going to just break down a few simple things. I can't obviously teach everything in a 1-hour webinar, but I'll show you how you can get more information if you like what you're learning tonight. So right now you're looking at what's called a candlestick chart. Let me bring my drawing tool in here. So these are candlesticks. These little things are candlesticks right here, and they represent movement in the stock market. They represent, open and closed prices. But if you look at this chart, let me ask you this. Can anyone determine, and I'll give you a couple seconds, can you determine where you would buy and where you would sell a stock based on looking at this chart? Just from the little bit you see right here, can you tell when it's time to buy or sell? I'll give you a minute. And my guess is most of you are like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. I don't know what those colors are at the bottom. I don't know what that Stoke D thing is in the middle. And so I'm going to break it down for you. So let's talk about it. Now, I'm going to put some indicators on the chart, and I'm going to spell this out for you so you can understand what you're looking at. So now all of a sudden, this is going to start to make more sense. So this bottom line is something that's called support. And, you can see it denoted right here. It's called support. This is where people like to come in and buy the stock. This top line right here, as you can see, is denoted as resistance. That's where people, when I say people, other traders or whatever the case may be, like you and I, institutions, that's where they do not like the stock. And there's multiple different patterns, but this is just one pattern I'm going to talk about tonight in this webinar. So this is where you would buy the stock, and this is where you would sell it. This is called a channeling box. So you can see the stock is channeling in between two price points. So those price points are right here. You can see $74 and then right here 68. So the stock is channeling from 68 up here to 74, back down here to 68, fell a little bit below. Where'd it go? Right back up to 74, back down to 68, back up to 64. I'm sorry, 76, back down here to 68. And then we don't know what the future holds for the stock. We don't know if it's going to go back up and do that again. But that's called that's the trading range. It's going from 68 to 74. So what that is a $6. That's a $6 trading range. So here's what that means. If you can catch this stock down here at the bottom, you have an opportunity to make $6 on that trading range right there. $6 as it goes back up right here. Possible $6 as it goes back up right there. And then we don't know if it's going to go back up again. So here's how most amateurs tackle the market. And this is so true that it's scary. Here's what most people do. I'm going to erase some of that stuff and just start clean. Here's what most people do with the stock market. Most amateurs or beginners, and I was in this position, so don't feel bad if this is you. It happens to all of us until someone tells us how this works. Most people see this stock right here, and they'll say, well, I saw it falling. I'm not buying this stock because it's falling. Well, the professionals say, it looks like it just hit support. And so the professionals come in and they'll buy right here. After you see the stock move from 66 up here to 78, guess what you start to do? You hate that you're missing out on this move. And so what you do is you come in and say, well, maybe it's okay to buy now. It's already moved from 66 all the way up to 78. Maybe it's time to buy. What you do is you end up buying right here when you really should be selling. You end up buying when you should be selling. And what happens? The market turns around and then the stock sells off. So the professionals are selling right here. You're buying right here because you're thinking, oh, it moved from 66 to 78. Maybe it'll keep going higher. And you buy. And what happens is the stock sells off as soon as you buy in. And then you're frustrated. You're like, I knew this doesn't work. I knew I wasn't smart enough to do this. I don't know why I tried to do this. This is for smart people. You have to go to school for this stuff to work. And what do? You get frustrated. You beat yourself up and you actually end up selling right down here. Here's the problem. You sell when you should be buying. So the smart people now come back in and say, time to buy again. And now what do you think? You're thinking, how in the world did they know soon as I sold, the market was going to go up? Like you feel like someone has cameras in your house or something. Now you're like, they must have my phone tapped. How did they know that soon as I sell, it was going to go back up? If I would have just waited, I could have broke even. And so now you're really kicking yourself and you think that the market is rigged. It's not rigged. It's just that no one ever taught you about support and resistance and how to read this pattern in the chart and buy down here at the low and then sell up here. And then obviously there's going to come a point where this pattern is not going to work anymore. And so that's also part of is identifying when this pattern is over. When does this pattern end? When is it time to move on and look for another stock? And that's some of the stuff that I talk about in my course. But just with this little information right here, most of you know 95% more than most of the people at your job or most of the people that pretend like they know about the stock market. And then down here, there's some indicators that can help you determine when is it time to turn and move up. And then there's volume and some other things that we look at. But let me just check the temperature of the room. Is this some cool stuff or not? Just type in the box. Let me know that you're still with me. Was that pretty cool or pretty interesting, just being able to look at a stock chart and have someone kind of break down when to buy, when to sell versus you thinking this thing is just some type of mystery and just thinking it's some type of snafu to trade in the stock market? Is really a well thought out methodical plan. And once you know what you're looking for in the stock chart, George says yes, Evelyn says yes, Bob is saying yes, Jason says yes, Mahogany, yes, Russell, and saying yes, awesome. Just want to make sure that this is making sense to you guys. And again, at the end, I'm going to open it up for some questions and answering. Star says this is her second time around and it's still very cool. Well, welcome back, Star, and I'm glad it's making sense. And that's let me digress for a second. Sometimes you have to see this stuff 2, 3, 4 times for it to make sense to you. All right, so you don't always get it on the first time, but sometimes hearing it again, you're like, that makes sense to me now. But before I move on, let me do some quick math, because I want you to understand what this can mean to you if you could catch these channels like this. So I told you this was a $6 channel here, $6 channel here, $6 channel here, and then over here we don't really know if it'll happen again. But let me ask you something. If you caught this channel 3 times, right? 1, 2, 3 times, that's $36 you could have made. But what if you had 100 shares of the stock? Well, that's $3,600, right? And let me point out the time frame, right? So this channel first started right here in October 25th, 2011. That's when that channel started. It took, right here was the first cycle, November 8th, 2011. So you're talking about roughly 14 days to make your first cycle. And then over here at about November, 30th, made another cycle. And then December 21st, 2011, and made this third cycle. Here's what I'm trying to point out to you. It took from October 25th to roughly December, let's just say December 25th. It took 2 months for you to cover $6 3 times on this stock, owning 100 shares, $3,600. I know people that wait all year long for basically what season we're in right now, which is tax season, depending on, this webinar is live, but if you're watching the replay, waiting for tax season to come around so that they can make $3,600. And I just showed you how to make it in 2 months being in the stock market. So there's a better way to making money than sitting around waiting at the end of the year, hoping you get a tax return. What if you owned 1,000 shares? This is going to probably make some people's mouth drop, right? Potentially could have made $36,000 in 2 months. Now, I'm not saying you will make this money. I'm not saying everybody makes this money. I'm just saying it's possible. Obviously, to have 1,000 shares of a $68 stock, you need $68,000. But some people have that type of money. But what if you did 100 shares of a $68 stock? You're only talking about $6,800 to make $3,600. Is that doable? I think so. But what if you didn't have $6,800? What if you had half of that? Could you get involved with the marketing and cut this profit in half? Instead of making $3,600, would you be okay if you cut it in half and you made, $1,800 in 2 months? So I don't care how much money you have to start with. I want you to just start seeing what the possibilities are once you learn how to read a stock chart. Because some people say, oh, that's great, but I don't have that type of money. It's not about the money. It's about starting with what you have and letting it grow to a point where you do have 6,000. It's about taking your tax returns and doing something different this year other than going shopping and getting involved with the stock market. Jenna says, how do you catch it without seeing the pattern if it's October 25th, 2011? So I knew that question was going to come up. So I'm going to bring up a real live chart, and this is the trading software I use. So let me bring this up and show you a real live example right here, right now. So you may be thinking like, well, how did you, that's in the past. He showed us a really cool example of something that happened in the past. Let me raise this up a little bit. Give me 1 second to move this up. I want you to see the dates down here at the bottom. This date right here. All right. So look at this. This is February 2015. All right. This just happened. So here's revolution number 1. Here's revolution number 2 and sort of revolution number 3. And this is April 7th. Let me turn on my cursor really quick so you can see what I'm talking about. So this right here happened February 9th. This one happened March 10th. This one happened April 6th on this stock ABBV, which is like a tech stock. And I could draw these lines really quick for you. And you can see there's your channel right there. Now, this time it didn't come all the way back down, but you get the drift. My point is this stuff is happening every day in the stock market. It's just a matter of, do you know how to find it? And do you know how to look for it? So don't think that one example I showed you just because it was 2011, like, oh, he picked the perfect example for this webinar. I had this one loaded just so I can show you real time. This one just finished doing it March 9th. We're only April 15th right now. And then April, you could have caught from 310, which is right here, 310. You could have caught this revolution and it would have took 323 is when it happened. So you're talking 2 weeks to go from 54. I'm getting this number from over here. So 50, let's just call it 55. It went from 55 to 61. That's a $6 channel right there. And if you would have caught it over here, that's probably another $6 channel. Over here, it didn't really come back down, so maybe you wouldn't have caught it. But is it all right if you caught it twice and made some money? So I just wanted to show you that this stuff is happening every day. So whether it's happening October 2011 through 2012, or whether it's happening on that chart I just shown you, it's about being able to recognize these patterns so that when they come, you're able to capitalize on it. So this is good stuff. This stuff gets me excited, guys. Right. So back to this cow picture or this picture. Oh, I just blew it. I just told you what it is. So this is actually a picture of a cow, and I'm going to draw it out for you. Here's the cow's eyes. Here is his ears. Here's his nose. And then you can kind of see like his like jawline there. You can kind of see, you can see now that it's a cow, and here's his head up here. And the reason I didn't want to tell you what it was the first time is because the point I was trying to make to you, if everyone that's listening to my voice, the point that I was trying to make to you is that when you don't know what you're looking at, you think it's a black and white painting. You think it's a picture of art. You think you see a man's face. You think you see all of these different things. And that's how the stock market is. Until somebody takes you by the hand, or obviously in this case by the webinar, by your ear, until you partner with someone who knows what they're looking at, you do think it's magic. You think it's for smart people. You wonder, how in the world could I ever do this? But it's not until someone who's done it before, to someone who's seen it before, comes alongside you and tells you exactly what you're looking at and how to interpret it. Now you're probably on the other end of this computer thinking, oh my God, how did I not see it was a cow? And that's because you've never seen it before. No one never told you what you were looking at. And that's the same with a stock chart. Until I showed you what you were looking at in this webinar, it all looked Greek. It all looked like some fancy, an explosion of crayons or something on the screen. I don't know what it looked like to you, but it looked foreign. Now you're like, okay, I see the patterns. And that's what this webinar is about. Whether you take any of the next steps or do anything else, you walk away from this knowing that if you want to learn about something, you need to partner with someone who can show you and coach you and teach you and tell you what you're looking at. I love this quote right here by Henry Ford. He said, "It is well that the people of the nation don't understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." I thought this quote was very profound because, when you think about people who are wealthy people just know something that the rest of us don't know, or they know something that the rest of us don't want to take the time to learn. Most people say, oh, I'll just turn it over to a financial advisor. He's smarter. He went to school for it. He knows what's best for me. I'm going to tell you right now, the smarter you get at this stuff, the smarter or the better financial advisors you can pick, because most financial advisors play on your ignorance. They play on you not knowing what a stock chart is. They play on you not knowing when the market's up, when it's down, not understanding this terminology. And when they use some fancy terms that's really not that fancy, you think, oh, wow, they must be smart. Let me turn my money over to them. But if you really knew how it worked, you could pick a better financial advisor, because you'd have a better understanding of how it works yourself, and you can weed out all the people who don't really know what's going on. And so that's how wealthy people become wealthy. They put in the time to learn something that most people don't. You could be watching Real Housewives right now. You could be watching whatever your favorite show is on TV. But you chose to take an hour, 45 minutes out of your time to learn something that your friends, your family, maybe your spouse is not taking the time to learn. They'd rather watch TV right now. So just being here, you should applaud yourself, because you're taking time to better yourself to get this knowledge. And that's what I hope I'm imparting on you tonight, and that you take away some cool nuggets from this. And so here's the thing, you got two ways you can get this information. You can go off on this on your own, but I think you're just like this guy. Some people like to leave a webinar like this and say, oh, all right, now I'm going to go on this on my own. I think I have it. And that's simply a bad choice. Let me tell you, you've only saw a fraction of what the market is about tonight in this webinar. And there's a whole lot of things to look out for. There's at least 3 other patterns to be aware of. And if you don't know what those are, and you don't get the right training or get the right coaching, it's just financial suicide to leave a webinar like this and think I can manage my account now, or I'm going to go open a stock trading account and become a stock trader. And the other problem that most people have is there's no one in their network that knows this type of information. Most of the time, when I looked at my circle, I was 23 years old. I was just a college student, and there was nobody in my circle that knew about the stock market. And embarrassingly, there was nobody in my family. My mother worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield. My father worked at General Motors. That's what they knew for their time frame, was to come over, get a job in a plant, get a job at a big company like Big Blue, and retire after 40 years. So I had no one in my network that I could go to and get this information. And that's why it's powerful that if this stuff makes sense, if you're looking to change your life, change, how you look at money, you don't leave a webinar like this and go ask your broke cousin, what do you think? You think I should move forward and learn more about this? Or you go to work tomorrow and ask someone who's just an employee who has no ambitions of ever leaving the company, what do you think about making money in the stock market? I attended a webinar last night. It's just not smart to do. You need to get around other people who are trying to make this work just like you are. We have a private Facebook group, and I'll talk about how you can become a part of that. But I wanted to read some of the testimonials from our private Facebook group. You can see, I blanked out the person's name because obviously we want to keep it private, or else it wouldn't be a private Facebook group. But he said, following the course's advice about the earnings dates yesterday, I sold my positions for a little profit after the company reported a quarterly loss and announced management change. The stocks are down by over 10%. Thank you, Jason. I could have learned that the hard way. So based off some stuff we taught him in the course, he realized he got out of his positions early, and then he was able to lock up a 10% profit. And then you can see I commented here. I said, wow, that's awesome to read. Glad the course is helping you. Here's another one. Based on the techniques, I'll actually read it from over here. He said, Jason Brown, based on the training techniques that you have introduced me to, I placed my first option position 6 days ago and sold it this morning for about 100% return. Man, I'm telling you, investing, he meant to say in, but on myself through your training is the best thing I've done. Nothing beats knowledge. And then you can see other people chiming in on the trade down here because, we're a community, right? So get around other people that are doing what you're doing. You can also post charts in our group, and it says, hey, what do you think about this, Jason? But I didn't answer immediately, but look at some of the other people said, hey, you need to wait at least one more day to see if it will reverse the trend and if it will break and go up. And notice this is very similar to that trend we've been showing you all night, where it's channeling in between two price points. So this was one that someone in the group found, and he posted it in here. And so, that's what we provide, an opportunity for you to connect with other people who are trying to learn this stuff, trying to better themselves, a community where you can get feedback and chat with other traders versus going to ask someone in your family or your next door neighbor who has absolutely no idea about the stock market. And you're going to go ask them, what do they think about this stock, or what do they think about trading? This is the last one, I think. Thanks for everything and the time you've spent to help others learn to trade. So this was a testimonial that this gentleman put in here. He said, thanks for everything and all the time you spent to help others. I just said, I appreciate that, because comments like that is what keeps me going. Comments like that is what makes me share this knowledge, to see that someone who maybe a week, a month, 2 months ago didn't think that this was for them, and now they got a totally different outlook on life. They now can dream again, start thinking about the dream home, the dream vacation, putting their kids through college, all because of the knowledge. So it's not that I'm telling you what to trade, but you actually know how to look for this stuff now, and you have the knowledge that, no one can ever take away from you, knowledge. So, I think you got a few ways that you can learn this. You can go read books, but I know from experience, reading books, you end up like this guy right here. And then after a while, you end up like this guy right here, sprawled out over the floor, confused. You got to get a book to understand another book. I remember reading I was reading a stock market book, and I'll never forget this. It said, you want to look at the pivot point of the angle of the Bollinger Band of the consumer price index. I literally had to go get another book and look up, what is Bollinger Band? What is consumer price index? What is that? Then I had to go get another. Then that book was like, well, the consumer price index is the index that determines the price of the consumers for the market rate exchange. So now I'm like, what's the market rate exchange? So then I have to go get another book to understand what was the market rate exchange. So it was just horrible. It was horrible. And I'm not a fan of reading stock market books. I just feel like they're horrible. They're horrible. I'm gonna just leave it at that. If you got a good book, let me know, because I haven't found any good books. They're ridiculous. You need a book to understand the book, and then you still are like, I'm more confused than when I started this. You can waste time researching online, and because of the internet, there's good and bad about the internet. Number one, everybody's an expert, right? They put up a website and now they're an expert. So you can research online and go find all these people. I would ask you this. You found me because you liked my style. You liked my training. You saw a YouTube video. So why leave here and go look for somebody else? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, if you like what you see, you like what you hear, no one's ever explained it to you like that, then hey, stick around. Don't go looking for some greener grass, all right? I'm sharing with you some quality stuff here about how this works. So don't go waste your time trying to find even more stock sites. And then, looking at the competition, I can tell you right now, we're ahead of the competition because we're breaking this down in easy to understand terms. We're keeping it simple. And most of all, it's at a reasonable rate. We got a private Facebook group where people can connect, and all that stuff is trumping the competition. You don't believe me? Go look up some of these other guys' stock trading course. They're going to charge you thousands of dollars for some mediocre stuff, and they're going to make it even more confusing because they want you to buy even more stuff. And so what I did was, people were always asking me, what are you trading? What are you buying? Eric said, is my mic on? Can you guys still hear me? Type in the box if you can hear me. Everyone else says they can hear me. So Eric, it may be your computer. All right, so everyone else can still hear me, Eric, so it might be your computer. Robertson says he can hear me, so awesome. So I created a course called Foundations, guys. And here's the thing. There is no, I'm going to say this right here, right now, up front. There's no pressure for you to purchase it or buy it. But a lot of people were asking me, you know, how did you first get started? Can you understand where to research stocks? How do I get started? How do I open an account? How do I learn about the other trends? When do I buy? When do I sell? Can you coach me? Can you teach me? And so I created a course called Foundations to answer all those questions for you. And in this course, it's a 16 module course where I break down where to go to research stock market language for free. I give you a lot of free tools in here. I show you how to research stocks in the language online for free. I show you how to read stock charts, how to understand candlestick stock charts, how to identify buy and sell signals. I break all that down inside of the course. I show you where to go to get definitions on the web for free and the best place to get it to understand it. I show you how to interpret index and ETFs, which is what most people's 401ks are invested in. Your 401k is normally comprised of indexes, ETFs, and quote unquote mutual funds, which is just a collection of stocks in different sectors and industries. So I show you how to break that down and find out, is your portfolio in the best sectors? Is it in the best industries? And again, a lot of these are all free trading resources. I also show you how to do fundamental research. I show you how to look for that cash flow that we talked about in the beginning, the earnings, and then how to compare it against the competition. And I show you how to do it with the best free tools that are online. I also teach you technical analysis. So when we walk through those stock charts and we talked about those candlesticks and that $6 trading range, I show you how to analyze that. There's at least 2 to 3 other stock trends that I talk about in the course. And we talk about stock charting basics, how to interpret that and start to draw your lines and see when those patterns form. Candlesticks, line charts, we break it all down. In module 4, we break down how to understand the 3 major trends, the buy and sell signals. And I think this is the most important, how to avoid stock market traps. There's some things you need to look out for that if you're an amateur in this industry, you get too excited and you get blindsided about some of the market minefields or landmines that could blow up your account. And we talk about those in the course. I also included a 7-module course about how to open a trading account, how to use stock indicators, how to create a watch list, and my favorite, how to do practice trades, because you don't want to leave a webinar like this, or even if you get the course, you don't want to leave the course and say, I got this, I'm ready, and put real money to work. What you want to do is you want to practice and do about 10 successful, here's the key word again, successful practice trades. Once you've done the successful practice trades, then you can say, okay, trade number 11, I think I'm ready to put real money behind it. But don't take your real money and practice with it. Like, that just doesn't make sense. So if you lose money in the practice environment, then you can turn around and say, okay, what went wrong? What was I not seeing? Did I draw my lines right? You can post it in the group to get feedback. Practice first with fake money, and then you want to put real money to work. I've also included some additional bonuses. I included an intro to options course. It's not a complete course, but it's a 1-hour webinar where I break down how to use calls and puts and how to leverage your trading account. And then I do a stock options case study with a popular stock. Also, you get access to our private members only trading community. So we have about, we're approaching 100 people in that group. We're pretty solid. And so you get access to our private stock trading community, which is, it's a Facebook community. So it makes it easy for you to chime in from your phone, chime in from your computer, your iPad, pop in, network with other traders, get some feedback. So it's a really cool platform that we're using over there on Facebook. Even if you don't have a Facebook, create one. Trust me, you want to be in that private group. And then I walk you through some of the best online tools to get started. And there's a whole lot more. I give you my personal stock trading checklist. There's audio files of all the courses in there and included with the video file. There's just a whole lot of stuff inside of the course, guys. So you're probably thinking, how much is the course? And you're right. I probably could charge easily $1,000 for the course, would not lose any sleep at night. I could easily charge $1,000. If you don't believe me, Google some of the competition. Leave here and go look at some beginner stock market courses. They're going to charge you anywhere between $500, $700, $1,000. I could do that, but the problem with that is it defeats the purpose of why I even started this course in the first place. And I started this course to reach the masses, and you cannot reach the masses with a high price tag. When I got started in this industry, it was $4,000 for me to take my first course. But I paid I actually didn't have the $4,000. I actually opened up a credit card and I charged it, but I was that desperate to learn this information. I always heard about the market. We kind of grew up financially poor, and I said, I have to do something out there that's crazy to break this chain in my family tree. And for me, that breaking the chain was borrowing $4,000 and taking this course because I had to get this information. I had to, but I'm not charging you $4,000. Now, it can't be free because it costs to have web hosting. So if you cut that in half, I'm not even charging $4.99. I made the course the reasonable. And when I say reasonable, please don't message me and ask me, is there a discount? Because no, it's not. I don't know any other place on the planet you can go and learn about the stock market in the way that I teach it, in the format that I teach it, and show you really how this stuff works for $97 and get lifetime access to our private Facebook group where you can network with approaching 100 people who've taken the course, posting in there to get feedback on different stocks, what they're trading, get feedback on how the market's doing today. I really, truly, sincerely made this so affordable that if you just stop drinking Starbucks coffee for 1 month, you could pay for this. If you just didn't go out to eat dinner one night of the week, all right, you can put yourself in a better financial position. So it's only $97 to partner with me, partner with the others in our Facebook group, get this information. You get to watch it as many times as you want. It's a one-time investment in yourself. So there's no other charges for the course after that. Lifetime access, as long as the internet is around, that's what you get. And usually at this point in the webinar, there's usually, really 1 or 2 or 3 types of people at this point. And I want to talk to all 3 of you at this point. There's someone that says it's great, but I don't have $97, or I don't know if I want to spend $97. And to that person, I would just ask, what's the last thing that you spent $97 on that's not making you money? Is it a purse? Is it some shoes? What are you going to blow your tax return on that's not making you money? There's something in our closet. There's probably a video game, a TV that we stare at every day that's not making us money, that costs way more than $97. But I would ask you, are you investing in you? Are you investing in your education? If you went to college, you probably paid $40,000, $50,000 for a degree, and they didn't break down how you can have your money work hard for you. So I would ask, are you investing in you? Someone else might say, well, I don't know if I have time to learn the stock market. Hey, listen, if you're on this webinar right now, you have time. And if you don't have time, you make time for what's important to you. It was important for you to come and get this information tonight, so you made time. So I would ask you, what are you making time for? Are you making time to watch TV? Are you sleeping in late? Take the time to get around people that are making money, get around people that are trying to do something different with their life. And trust me, you'll look up 6 months, a year, 2-3 years from now, and you'll have more time because you won't have to go to work 8 hours to make a paycheck. And then the third person is someone that just doesn't see the value in the stock market. And I'm not here to convince you. I know what the stock market can do for you. I know what it can do for my family. I know what it can do for your family. I know what it can do for the goals and dreams that you have that you will never reach by just working 40 hours a week. And you need something that can multiply and get paid 2, 3, 4-fold without you working 2, 3, 4 times the hours. And that's the stock market. And it is. I want to read this quote from the Dalai Lama as we get ready to wrap up here. The Dalai Lama, when asked what surprised him most about humanity, he answered, man, because he sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices money to recuperate his health. And then he is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he is never going to die and then dies having never really lived. And I think that's a perfect example of most people's life. We're like that guy in the corner. We have a boss that's riding our back, and we spend our lives chasing the dollar, and then we lose our health. We work till we're old, and then once we retire, we go get a job at Myers or Kroger as a greeter. And I'm not knocking that, but do you think in your final days you want to be a greeter at Kroger's or Myers? Those are grocery stores here, just in case you're not from Michigan. But you probably see, the older people working at McDonald's, and if you talk to them, you say, what? They say, well, Medicare is going up, or the cost of living's risen, my retirement isn't enough. And to me, that's just, they didn't have the chances that we have right now. Right now, as long as you have a high-speed internet connection and a laptop, you are global. You can make money from anywhere in the world. I don't know another time in history where we were able to do this. If you were trading stocks back in the day, you had to have a stockbroker. You had to have make a certain amount of money and be part of a privileged class. You do not have to ask anybody's permission, which is either a good or a bad thing, because now you have to look in the mirror and be responsible for your own financial rescue. And some people are going to step up to that challenge, and some people are going to stick their head in the sand. And so if you're interested in the course, you can pick it up at powerstocktrades.com. I'm going to open it up for any questions that you might have, but I hope you saw value. And whether you get the course or not, I hope I gave you a lot of value tonight and you at least learned something tonight. So I'll open it up for any questions that you want to type in the chat box. I'll stick around for a few minutes, answer any questions, but I hope to see you on the other side and grab the course, come network with me and some of the other stock traders in our private Facebook group, and let's make 2015 the best year of your life, or at least a new start to the rest of your life. So if there's any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box. If there's no questions, if you just got comments or feedback, feel free to type that as well. Andre says, does the $97 open up to you as a coach? So I do charge for private coaching, but for that $97, I am in and out of our Facebook group. You can see I comment on some of the things that our traders are asking in there. Also, from time to time, I'll do a Q&A session for people who purchased the course. So just Monday, 2 days ago, I did a live Q&A session for people that have bought the course and maybe have had some questions, different things like that. Now, I can't do that obviously every night, but I do from time to time, once a month or once a quarter, open it up and come in and answer some questions for people who bought the course, because I want you to be comfortable with your stock trading. But to have me as a coach, there's a form on my website that you can fill out, and there is a cost associated with that because obviously my time is valuable. Eric said, can you expense the course against your gains? You can write it off as, well, let me be careful saying that. Number one, I'm not a tax preparer, so you do need to talk to whoever your tax consultant is. I know in my business, I am able to write off anything that deals with education, whether that's traditional education or non-traditional. So this would fall under education, and you normally can write education off on your taxes. But please see your tax advisor. That's not my specialty. It could be different for your country. I think some people on here from Canada or Europe or different places. So check with your local country and your tax professional. But in my life, in my country, with my tax professional, yes, I can write off as education. So great question. Andre says, how long are the modules? The modules are anywhere between 15 minutes up to 45 minutes. And then there's about 4 bonus webinars that are like an hour long in there. So in total, it's like 16 modules. Then there's the 7 module course on how to open an account. Then there is 4 bonus webinars, question and answer webinars. Those are like an hour long. So, anywhere between 15 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour long for those 4 bonus modules that's in there as well. No problem. No problem. And just so you know, guys, there's no, we do offer a 60-day money back guarantee. We're straight up with this. It's great information in the course, and I think you'll find value in it. And if for some reason you don't, we have no problem refunding your money. If you don't want to be in the course and be in the group, then, respectfully, we don't want you in there, right? But I know that we put out a quality product and that we're teaching people and we're coaching people, and the private Facebook group alone is worth being in, just seeing some of the conversations and the trades that are going on in there. Eric, I actually trade as an LLC, but, starting out, you may just start out as an individual, but I do trade as a company or under my business. So, yeah. But I actually have 2 accounts. I have a personal account and I have a business trading account. Hey, Bob, I appreciate you spending some time with us. So I'll hang out for a few more minutes, answer some questions. Again, I would head over to powerstocktrades.com, pick up the course. I really, look forward to seeing you guys in our private Facebook group and watching you go. Star says, thanks. Hey, Star, I'm glad you were able to spend some time with us tonight. I see you posting in our private Facebook group. Just don't stay away too long, girl. Let's stay plugged in. So to everyone else, if there's no more questions, we're going to go ahead and end the webinar. Again, I appreciate you spending some time with me tonight. Thank you all. Feel free to pick up the course at powerstocktrades.com. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/The Brown Report. So if you want to connect with me on Facebook, I'm there. I'm on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter at Brown Report. So come spend some time with me. I hope to see you guys on the other side. Have a great, great night.